I was making this point. I remember, and Seth, you helped me here. As part of GIFMIS, we had a contract management and procurement, module as part of GIFMIS. I don't know what has happened to that model. Is it still active? It's been deactivated. It was meant to bring more transparency into procurement and contract management. And that was a very important aspect of GIFMIS that we had started to implement. Now, I don't think that module works. Everything has been abandoned. This level of leakage will definitely affect the ability of any government to deliver on its mandate and guarantee the citizens an appreciable standard of living. The nonchalance and total unwillingness to address corruption in government is a major worry and will continue to affect our economic fortunes until the trend stops. When I called for a change in government in 2024, when I said the 8 years has to happen in order that the government can be held accountable and that people don't walk away with their stolen monies, because it's obvious that this president has no will to tackle corruption. Anytime you attack him, they go back and go and resurrect cases from 2016. And I said before, the easiest, way of fighting corruption is to prosecute your political opponents. The true test of somebody who is willing to fight corruption is to investigate and prosecute your own. But it's clear that this president has no intention of investigating or prosecuting his own. And that's why the natural order of things that Ghanaians have established is that after 8 years, leave and let a new government come and hold you accountable. And so when I called for a change in government in 2024 as a first step towards halting this hemorrhage of badly needed resources through corruption and holding offending officials to account, our friends in government took offense. But it remains the only viable way to save and protect the public purse in the face of abundant evidence that nothing will be done by this president about the situation. Today we've heard a lot of numbers, and these numbers tell a story. We politicians like to recite numbers with aplomb, believing that they show our superior performance. Our people have often questioned the relevance and importance of these numbers by retorting that they do not reflect in their lives or their pockets. Anytime we talk about GDP growth and inflation going down and things, our people say, well, what's the purpose of all these figures when, life is still so bad for us? They are justified in demanding a correlation between the numbers that we boast about and improvements in their lives. To what extent have we been able to offer a tangible linkage between our talk about stable inflation and our people actually going to the market and finding that prices have remained the same over an extended period of time? No, prices have not remained the same over an extended period of time. Our people are just galled by the hypocrisy of so-called economic experts who in 2016 asked them to forget about economic statistics and look at the escalation of prices of cement and other products on the market. And then today the same experts in government hold up statistics, including inflation, and say that life is better now for them and that the perception of hardship in Ghana is just a creation of Muhammad. And yet when you go on the market, every day you see prices are changing. And they say, no, forget about that. Look at the statistics. Inflation is single digit, And yet the same people in the past said, forget about inflation being single digit. The reality is, look at how prices are changing on the market. This is the kind of hypocrisy that I say is laughable. And there's so many examples of them. When they point about forex rate relation with fundamentals, And then when the same forex thing happens, they say it doesn't necessarily mean that the fundamentals are weak. This is a conundrum for us all. And the question I ask is, how have we all ensured as leaders that when we have touted high economic numbers, it has found expression in the number of jobs that are created within the economy to guarantee our teeming youth a dignified existence within which they are able to meet their needs and those of their dependents? How has economic growth led to actual growth in the lives of our people? So it's not how fast the economy is growing, it is how that growth, is devolved into reflecting in the lives of our people. You can have countries with lower growth, but you find that development and growth of their people is much better. And so it's not just about touting high GDP growth, it is how it reflects on our people. We're at a juncture where these questions have become even more critical. Despondency, disillusionment, and frustration over unmet expectations and our collective inability over the years to translate economic numbers into tangible outcomes and improvements in the living conditions of our people are casting an ominous pall over the enthusiasm that greeted the democratic transition that took place decades ago. Our people are beginning to question whether this whole democratic effort is not only a ruse to guarantee access to the resources of a country to a privileged few elite, to do as they please with it and satisfy their creature comforts to the detriment of the masses who should be the ultimate beneficiaries. The much heralded democratic dividend is fast turning into a mirage far beyond the reach of the people for whom it was intended. There can be no denial of the fact that Ghana is caught in the throes of deep social and economic problems. Mounting unemployment, affecting millions of our young people, ever declining quality of education, problems with our healthcare and agriculture, decaying infrastructure, corruption, weakening and politicization of state institutions, insecurity, unreliable public services continue to make life very difficult for the average Ghanaian. The speed with which hundreds of thousands of young people spontaneously took over social media and demanded that this country be fixed is a cautionary tale on how exactly the people feel about the way this country is being governed. Rather than cynically scoffing at these calls and ascribing political motives to them, and pretending that the genuine cry for help from our citizens is a figment of the imagination of some political leaders, we should be lending a listening ear to these young people, and indeed to our people. The problems of our country and the solutions to them cannot be reduced to a handful of fancy slogans. And so when elections are coming, it's free SHS. Next election, Agenda 111. Our problems go beyond this sloganeering. We have problems in every sphere. And so when the young people say fix the country, they're not talking about sloganeering and a partial fix in one segment or an attempt to fix one segment. It's about looking at the lives of Ghanaians comprehensively and making their lives more meaningful. So the problems facing our country and the solutions to them cannot be reduced to a handful of fancy slogans and poorly conceived and implemented half measures aimed at obtaining short-lived political gratification, only to have them inflict deeper socioeconomic wounds on our country and leave more problems than they resolve. Governance is not about empty sloganeering and PR stunts. It should be about methodical steps that are well conceived and thought through to address our problems holistically and permanently.